Nadine and I have been preparing to co-teach a Musar class on the Midah, on the quality of equanimity, and it does feel like so needed with the atmosphere of very upheaval times on so many different levels. And so then at the end of last week, I was involved in a kind of, I was in between two different people who were very anxious about money. And I happened to be the person in a position of fiduciary responsibility regarding money. So I couldn't absent myself from the misunderstanding, dispute, worried, a lot of anxiety. And I certainly noticed that a kind of anxiety started to get going in my body. And I've got some, pre-existent grooves. I have my own kind of pre-existent, condition here. So I have to watch that one. So on Shabbat morning, I was meditating, and a blessed quiet did come over me, and then I was in that kind of place that I actually don't remember very much of, but suddenly the word equanimity like flashed on my mental screen in a really very clear way. And then the alarm rang, i.e. it was time for me to get up and go teach my class, get up for meditation. And so I was in the kitchen, I flipped on the radio, and the first thing I heard was somebody talking about something in equanimity, was, just like right there. So I was like, oh, this really is, underlining this and highlighting it. And so, I do try to pay attention to those synchronicities and stuff, and not just stay, totally committed to the Jeffrey Kessler agenda, whatever I think needs to happen. So, because I had been wondering, I had a few different ideas about what to focus on tonight, but I think equanimity is the thing. So there's a psalm, it's Psalm 91. And one time I received a teaching from Rabbi Jonathan Omerman regarding, or taking off from the very beginning of this psalm. The first line of it says, Yoshev b'setor elyon, Etzel Shaddai Yitlonen. So Yoshev b'setor elyon means the one who is sitting. B'setor elyon means like high. Elyon means highest, and seter means hiddenness. The one sitting in supreme hiddenness, and then it says Betzel Shaddai, in the shadow or under the protective wing of Shaddai, Yitlonen, which it means to dwell in a temporary way. Like the lalin means to stay someplace, and like in modern Hebrew, a beit malon is a hotel. So it's about finding that place, that makom, I think, inside of ourselves, where we can rest, where we can be at peace, where, a place of equanimity. Many of you know I've for years done retreats at a wonderful place, in a Cistercian monastery in Northern California called the Redwoods Monastery. It's a group of a small community of Cistercian nuns. And unfortunately, I'm not going this year. I would be going next Monday for a week, but like everyone else, they've had to close to protect themselves. But they in their liturgy, every night before bed, they their last liturgy of the evening, they chant this particular song. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read Robert Alter's translation, the first part of the psalm. So I think it's a very beautiful, and you'll see the connection. The one who dwells in the Most High's shelter, in the shadow of Shaddai, lies at peace at night. I will say of the Lord, my refuge, my stronghold, my God in whom I trust. For he will save me from the fowler's snare, from the disastrous plague. With his pinion he shelters you, and beneath his wings you take refuge. A shield and buckler are his truth. You shall not fear from the terror at night, nor from the arrow that flies by day, from the plague that stalks in darkness, nor from the scourge that rages at noon. Though 1,000 fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, it will not reach you. So, and it goes on a bit. So it's the image or the idea of finding a place that is somehow safe and in some way independent of all of this stuff swirling around it. I'm thinking of the story of Jacob's dream, Jacob's famous dream of the ladder. And, thinking of it as like a dream of initiation into Hamakom Hazeh, into that place. He wakes up and he says, God was in this place, but I didn't know it. How awesome is this place? This place is Sha'ar HaShamayim, the gateway to heaven. So I'm thinking of it more like the gateway to deep and authentic inner connection. So I think it's a place that we all have, at least potentially, inside of ourselves. And of course, those of us who are drawn to meditation are, intentionally prioritizing access to that place, since in some way we find it of value and importance. So in the Sanskrit language, the word for equanimity is upeksha, and it means the view from the top of the mountain. So, which, kind of makes it sound like an outer place, but I think that's what it's referring to, a place from inside where I can see the big picture, where I can remain connected to what is really of deep importance to me and not get carried away by all of the superficial turbulence. Sort of like you could think of in the, in fact, somebody recently told me a story about this, that oh yeah, she was swimming off the Amma ashram in India, and this huge wave was suddenly coming, and she was swimming with someone who said, just go under, and it won't knock you down. And she did, and it worked. So it's kind of like that in a way. Even, you could say, well, there's this terrible turbulence, sort of stalking our world at this time. And then there's also, my own personal reactivity and the kind of turbulence that can beset my psyche. That just remembering that there's upeksha, a higher place. Another way of thinking of it is it's a deeper place. It's a deeper place, a more grounded and more authentic place, a more shalem place, a place of wholeness. In Hebrew, the word generally used, or one of them for equanimity, is hishtavut, which is close to equanimity. I mean, shaveh means equal, like, shtaim ushtaim shaveh arba, two and two equal four. So hishtavut means like being, it's a reflexive, it's like being in an equanimity place, a place where, and it doesn't mean I don't experience the ups and downs. I absolutely do, but I'm not thrown by them. I'm connected to something deeper or beyond, more inner. So I also think an important aspect of equanimity, and a very practical aspect of it, is the sort of the somatic aspect, that equanimity, it's not just like a mental, a cognitive attitude or something like that. It's like an embodied sense of energetic presence. And it's an energetic presence that is calm and flexible and open, and able to listen and be responsive, and when knocked off balance, be able to come back to center in different ways, not get all tangled up in as in Buddhism, a way of talking about our reactivity is the 8 worldly dharmas, which are like seeking pleasure, trying to avoid pain, seeking gain, trying to avoid loss. Seeking praise, trying to avoid blame. And seeking a good reputation and trying to avoid being humiliated. That, those are all of us have those instincts to tend towards the good aspect of that dichotomy, and avoid the negative aspect of the dichotomy. That when we're in equanimity, we're kind of like beyond the dichotomy. It's still seesawing back and forth, but our energetic presence is established in a place of inner freedom, in an inward place that is aware of the changes, but established beyond them. It's like it's the place of embodied awareness, the place of soul presence. You when we've forgotten it, or when we've sort of gotten lost or stirred up or confused, it can be very difficult to remember that place even exists to return to. But when we do manage to return to it in one way or another, it's like, it feels like home. It feels like, yes, this is the place. Hamakom hazeh. So I do think that because the sense of energetic presence and the sense of a certain quality of somatic experience is part of equanimity, I think it's important for us to, put some attention on the need to balance our own lives and our own systems. In other words, it's if I'm whatever, like say I'm letting my blood sugar go zooming up and down like that. Obviously, I mean, it's not like that will make equanimity impossible, but it certainly is not going to support it from underneath, right? It's like if I have a more, balanced kind of diet for whatever that is for each of us, that can, help to support it, a steadier blood sugar and digestion. Also, the thing of balancing the autonomic nervous system between the activation part, the fight or flight, let's do it, or the rest and digest, the parasympathetic, the quieting system. When we have some balance there, it's easier to find that inner place. So it's just something to think about. Maybe we'll just be in silence for a couple of minutes, just considering that, and then I'll go on and talk us into about 20-minute block of meditation, but just to sort of front load it and to I like the combination of meditation and musar, using meditation to like cultivate the midot, to cultivate the soul traits. In this instance, to cultivate equanimity. So yes, absolutely, meditation is a key way and activity for doing it, but there's the rest of our life too. And real spiritual practice is about being able to make it real throughout one's life. It's a very, very tall order. So, just taking note of anything of significance that have come up into the field of your consciousness, and trusting that you'll remember that and hopefully even act on it. So now in meditation, one of the really, simple, always accessible, magic ways of sustaining equanimity and nurturing balance is through conscious breathing. That's one of the first books in the West on meditation was called The Relaxation Response by a Harvard MD, whose name I'm not remembering right now. But one of the things that he points out is that through rhythmic breathing, it varies, but usually within 5 to 10 minutes, there is a balancing effect of the autonomic nervous system, of the sympathetic and parasympathetic activation and the quieting. So it's a resource that we'll be using. We already are using it, I would say, and will continue to throughout this meditation period, hopefully throughout our lives. It's a very really just powerful and direct way of re-establishing that interconnection, the connection to the Hamakom Hazeh, is to breathing in and out of the heart. It's kind of like in the story of Elijah in the cave to which he's fled. And Hashem is like, what are you doing in this cave? And he's like, they're trying to kill me. They're after me. And Hashem says, come out into the mouth of the cave and make yourself vulnerable. Come out into the place of opening. And then there's that very famous passage where it says that a smashing whirlwind came by, breaking rocks, and Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh was not in the whirlwind. And then a ra'ash, a earthquaking, all these dramatic outer manifestations. And Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is not in the earthquaking. And then a fire, ash, and Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is not in the ash. And then Kol Damama Daka, the subtle voicing of silence, the still small voice, that place of inner quiet where we're open, to receive nourishment, to receive insight, information, even to receive transformation just by having the courage and the patience and the compassion, the wisdom to be there, to come out into the mouth of the cave and to, Rabbi Jonathan also has a teaching, that the ruach, the whirlwind smashing the rocks, represents the turbulence of thought in the psyche, and the ra'ash, the earthquaking, represents the just the intensity of really strong somatic sensations, which can overwhelm us. And that the ash, the fire, represents the intensity of emotional reactivity and also of deep feeling that can totally capture our attention. So, but the equanimity place is aware of those, experiencing them, but beyond, deeper, higher, more spacious, more inclusive. Pick your metaphor, your preposition for describing it. So we'll just sit in silence now, feeding our presence, our energetic presence in that place through conscious breathing, just breathing in and out of the heart, just allowing the breath to radiate throughout your body, throughout your psyche. Let yourself be permeated with that inner luminosity. So to close, let's do another practice for furthering the cultivation of equanimity and encouraging the propagation of equanimity throughout our lives. Remembering that place of Yoshev b'Setor Elyon, seated in deepest hiddenness and highest hiddenness. Just make fists, light fists with both of your hands. And, Jose gave a teaching in his drash on Friday evening, saying, hey, maybe we should, instead of calling it Independence Day, maybe we should call it Interdependence Day, which I like that. And interdependence has its, positive and negative sides as well, I would say. So with your right hand, continuing to sit in yourself, with yourself, and to breathe consciously, count out, finger by finger, 5 aspects of humanity's and life's, irrevocable interdependence that is difficult for you, that you don't like, that you struggle with. And then with your left hand, count out 5 aspects of interdependence that you love, that you like, that bring you pleasure, joy, that are easy for you. Really remaining present with the negative and the positive, the difficulty and the release, the ecstasy.